the next part will be on chapter number 2. Okay, so if you recall this thesis which I referred to last Monday, okay, on the format that I would suggest you to follow, okay, for chapter 1, okay, especially from 1.1 until 1.8 lah, okay, summary of the chapter is not needed lah, okay. So that is what we discussed, and I would expect to see on your draft for your chapter 1, okay, even though I only require around 4 pages for the background, okay, but that is not the final one lah, so I expect more lah on your final version, okay. So but it's just I want to see whether you are on the right track, you got some idea what you want to do, okay, for your project, okay, because this is already the end of week 5, so we are like halfway through of the semester already, okay. So the next will be chapter number 2, okay, chapter 2, which is on the focusing on the literature review. So basically, in fact, before you start writing chapter 1, okay, for any student who are preparing or doing a research, doing a thesis, okay, writing a journal, so you need actually to do your reading first, meaning you need to actually have a literature review, okay, or you need to read, the number of articles for you to know what is the issue that you are actually focusing at. So once you have read enough articles, okay, compare from one article to another article, one journal to another journal, and you have done enough reading, then you are able to determine what is the issue, what is the problem statement that you want to write. Okay, you cannot come up with a problem statement without having a proper review of the articles or literature review. But you need to actually do this first. Okay, you need to have you need to read a lot of articles before you can actually understand what you are actually trying to investigate. Okay, but of course, so that will be the right way actually for you to come up with your chapter 1. Okay, in fact, if you are submitting for a project, okay, for a thesis project, you need to come up with your proposal. Proposal means chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. So that is what the research proposal is about, okay? The first 3 chapters. But before you can even begin writing your introduction, chapter 1, you need to do your reading first. So actually, literature review is the first step. Okay? Even though you don't really write chapter 2 first, but you need to start reading and taking down the important points, okay, trying to understand as many articles as possible. Then you are able to determine what is the issue that you want to study. Okay, so even though we begin by you guys pick, okay, one or any topic that you have a sample thesis, sample journal that you can follow. Okay, that is not actually the proper way lah, but because of the limited time constraint, okay, we have this semester, then that's why I always suggest that every group look for a possible, any thesis or journal that you can use as your guide, okay, especially the one that comes with the questionnaire that you can use for your research. Okay, but in the real world scenario, meaning if you were to do a new project, okay, then you need to actually read first, okay, collect as many journal articles similar to the one that you are doing, okay, go through them, and at least you got some idea what is actually that you want to do. So that will be how you actually start writing your chapter 1. Okay, so anyway, what is literature review? So I already given you some introduction last Monday, whereby a literature review should comprise of the 2 parts. One is the theoretical section, and the second part will be the review of articles, the one which are related to your topic. Okay, so, and I do mention that, okay, the main difference between an academic article, a journal, okay, compared to a newspaper article, is that academic article, you need to provide reference, you need to refer to past studies, to past journals, okay, past articles, okay, as your source of reference, okay? And then the other thing that you need to have in a thesis or if you're writing a research project, academic project, is you need to have a theory, okay? Grounded theory using one theory or two theories or three theories, depending on the scope of your project. Okay? For example, if you're just looking at the simple impact of inflation, okay, inflation on economic growth, okay, so a simple macroeconomic relationship. So you need to have one or two theories that can explain what happens when inflation goes up, the impact on GDP. Okay, so the theory can be a simple theory or intermediate level theory or advanced theory, depending on the scope of your study, whether you are doing master's level, PhD level. But not having a theoretical section in literature review means your thesis is lacking in terms of the main structure or the tiang, the pillar of your thesis. Actually, one of the main pillars is the theory. It's like you build a building, but tak ada tiang lah. There's no pillars in your building, then it will just collapse. Okay, so the same thing with academic writing. Okay? Newspaper article writing does not need to have a theory for you to write a newspaper article. Okay? You can interview people, you can just simply quote from someone, but whatever that you write, whether it's right or wrong, you cannot really actually know. Okay, it depends on but for academic writing, that's where you need to provide the references. Okay, when you refer to past article, so whatever statement that you make, you can always cross-check whether the statement is correct or not, depending on who you actually refer the statement from. Okay, so that is the purpose of having references, okay, citing articles in your paper. And then also the theory. What is the theory used for? Because whatever issue that you want to investigate, there must be some theory that we can use to actually use as our benchmark. If the theory says that when X goes up, Y goes down, for example. I use the example just the simple demand, the price, the law of demand. Price goes up, quantity demanded should go down. That is as simple as the law of demand says. Okay, so you need to have that theory if you are investigating issues related to price and demand and the prices of goods and services. Okay? So you must have some theory for you to use as your reference point, so that when you do your analysis, you can compare the real world scenario versus what the theory says. Okay, sometimes our actual findings, when you do your analysis, your findings may not be always following what the theory says. The theory might say the relationship should be positive, but when you do your analysis, you get a negative relationship. So that is where the analysis becomes interesting. Okay, whether you have found something new or you have done something wrong in your analysis, that is up for the student actually to justify, to explain why your result becomes like that. Okay, so that is why if you look at this thesis number 2 here from the Google Drive, so I would like you to follow something like this lah, even though this is not a standard format. Okay, when you go through the articles from the Google Drive, you will find that different articles, different theses have slightly different approach. But basically, the focus should be more or less the same lah. Okay, for example, if you look at thesis number 12, okay, similarly, the author, the student also have something quite similar. In 2.2 theoretical underpinnings, this is the theoretical section. Okay, and then somewhere around, I think on 2.4 is where the student summarize, use as many articles as possible to summarize the findings from other journals, other theses on this particular variables, income, interest rate. But the theory is still a theory lah, meaning that how you want to use the theory to describe the relationship of among the variables that you are studying. Okay, so that is a compulsory section in your thesis, having a theoretical section. Okay, a review, a theoretical background. So you can call it theoretical background, you can call it theoretical underpinnings, is referring to the same thing. Okay, so you need to have at least one theory that you can refer to that can explain the behavior or the relationship among the variables that you are looking at that you are investigating. So if you have a thesis that you are using as your reference point, as your main source of reference, so I'm sure that thesis should have that particular theory. Okay, if it doesn't have, there's something wrong with the theory, with the thesis. Okay, so you need to find a thesis that provide at least sufficient description of the theory which is relevant to the issue. So I will not discuss that because different topic requires different theory So I'm not going to know. I do not know what, of course there are different topics that you suggest. So that is not the focus of the literature review. So for today, I would like to show you how to properly cite, okay, the articles when you do your literature review or anywhere in your thesis. Okay, because as I mentioned, you can start citing articles as early as in chapter 1 in your background of the study. Okay, you can refer to according to X, according to John. Okay, in chapter 1 also you need to start referring to articles. Okay, but most of the discussion will be done in chapter 2, where you need to provide more detailed discussion about the articles that you use for reference in your thesis Okay, so let's say if you look at thesis number 8 and also thesis number 12. Okay, I'm just referring to these two just for the sake of example only. Okay, I'm not really interested about the topic. Okay, so if you go to, for example, in chapter 1, in the background, you can see here that the author even cited some articles, okay, in chapter 1, because academic writing, one thing that you need to be aware is that you cannot make a sentence that contains some information without actually referring where the statement comes from. Okay, except if the statement is very general. For example, Malaysia is a country in the Southeast Asia region. So that one is a common knowledge. You don't need to provide reference why Malaysia is in the Southeast Asia. Okay, so that is a common general knowledge. Okay, but if you refer to a statement about some data or some as long as the statement is very specific. Okay, so you need to provide where you get the statement from. You need to provide reference, okay, where that statement or where that statistics comes from. So that is the purpose of references. Okay, and you need to do that as early as in chapter 1 So I would expect that in the draft of your chapter 1 that you need to submit by this coming Sunday, you need to start referring to some articles, okay, as part of your background of the study. Okay, so that whatever issue that you want to highlight, you need to provide, one or two articles. The reference you are referring to several articles to highlight that issue is something very important. Okay, so that will be part of chapter 1 as well. But why we have chapter 2? Because chapter 2 is where you write the theory and also you do a in-depth or in-detail summary of the articles that you have reviewed, that you have read, which are relevant to your project. Okay, so of course, when you do a master's level, you are expected to refer to more articles compared to undergraduate level. But if you are doing a thesis at PhD level, you are expected to read and review more articles than when you are writing a master's thesis article. So I would expect when you write your chapter 2, your final version of your project, chapter 2 will require at least around 10 to 15 pages of article review. Meaning, so I will explain later how long do you need to review for one article? What is the appropriate length? How many lines? How many sentences you need to allocate when you review one article? Okay, I will explain that during our lecture today. Okay, so whenever you read any thesis or any articles, any journal articles, you need to pay attention how the student actually cite the article, okay, how they actually write the reference in the text. Okay, so if you go through the article number 12, okay, number 12 in the Google Scholar and in the Google Drive, okay, and we jump straight to chapter number 2 lah. Okay, so the first style of referencing is you are citing the author's name within the text, inside the text. Okay, so this is like you are speaking on their behalf. Okay, usually you can begin the sentence according to Mutezo 2014. Okay, a study carried out by Mutezo 2014. So this is citing within the text. Okay, so within the text means the text has not yet completed, but you are referring to the person within the sentence. So the way for you to properly cite is the surname, and then followed by in bracket the year the article is published. So if you Google, if I type Mutezo and see at the end of the reference list, okay. So yeah, Mutezo, 2014. So A will be will be the first name lah. Okay, the first name. So usually we only mention by the surname in the reference. So Mutezo, comma A lah. So A we do not know. I mean, unless you go to the actual article, then we can see what is A referring to lah. Okay, but from reference we cannot see what A stands for, what is J stands for. But if you want to know what A is, what J is, you need to open the actual article, and then you can see what A stands for. But when you are writing, when you are preparing for the reference list, okay, we only mention by the surname. So Mutezo just now, okay, as I highlighted this here. So when you are citing an article within the text, okay, so you need to mention by the name, in bracket the year. Okay, so this is if the article is written by one person. Okay, by one person, meaning only one person wrote this article. How about if the article is written by two people? Okay, by two authors, then you can see under here is another example. Okay, still this you are referring okay, in a study done by Zimunya and Raboloko. Okay, so when you are referring to an article written by two people, and you are citing within the text. Okay, so there is two styles. One is within the text. The other style is outside the text, after the sentence has ended. Okay, so this is when the sentence is not yet has not yet ended lah, maknanya within the text. Okay, so this is by one person. This is by two people. Okay, and the word AND must be spelled out, AND. Do not use the symbol, the acronym or the symbol for N, which is something like this lah. Okay, you use the N. The N symbol. Okay, so you must spell out AND if you are citing within the text. So this is for a article written by two people. Okay, how about if the article is written by three or more people? Meaning if the articles are written by 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, usually in economy, the most we can find is the article written by 4 or 5 people. Okay, usually 1, 2, or 3 lah. 4 not that common, but you can still find article written by 4 people. But 5 is quite seldom to find. But in other field like in engineering, in medicine, okay, in IT department, in the IT field, one article can be written by more than 10 people. That is not uncommon lah. Okay, because in that area, sometimes in the area of medicine, for example, okay, if you want to produce a vaccine, so a vaccine, for example, for COVID-19 vaccine, it requires a team of many scientists to actually collaborate and joint venture to produce one vaccine lah. So if once you have successfully produced one particular vaccine, so the name of the people who are directly involved must appear in the article also lah. But for academic writing in the field of economics, usually we have 1, 2, 3, or 4, maximum 4 lah. That is the common one. Okay, so how about if you got 3 or more, meaning 3 authors or 4 authors, or as long as 3 and above? How do you cite? How do you put that in the writing? Okay, if you got 2, and here is still within the text. Okay, within the text means the text has not yet ended, and the style of writing usually like this: a study done by, according to Zimuya and Robolako 2014, comma, and then you start writing the sentence. So this is for 2 people. Okay, how about if the article is written? So this is again by 2 people, still within the text. Okay, how about if the article is written by 3 or more people? So this is how you cite it. Okay, the word et al, et, followed by al, and then dot, and then followed by the year. Okay, a review done by Zakaria et al. So let's see, if you type Zakaria here, okay, and see when we go to the reference. Oops, sorry, Zakaria. Okay, here you can see that for article written by Zakaria et al. Okay, how many authors are there in the reference? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 people. Okay, four researchers lah involved in writing that article. Zakaria, Abdul Qadir, Muhammad Jafar, and also American 2012. Okay, because there are more than 2 authors, so the way to cite in the article will be using Zakaria et al. Okay, so et al means like Zakaria and others lah. Okay, but in academic we use et al. Okay, et-al. Okay, et-al, and then followed by the dot. Okay, and then bracket the year. So remember, this is still citing within the article, meaning the sentence has not yet ended. Okay, so you are citing, you are referring an article. Sorry, you are writing a sentence referring to what Zakaria et al. Has found, meaning has found or concluded in their research. So the statement that follow after this is basically a sentence that you summarize from the work of Zakaria. Okay, so but the main thing is that Zakaria et al. Is when you are citing 3 or more authors. Okay, two people is Endut and Hua 2009. So the name, AND, you must spell out and then bracket the year. Okay, the same thing for et al, 3 or more authors. Okay, the author's name, the first person mentioned in the article. Okay, so this you must refer to the original, usually the name that appear first will be the one that we mentioned. Okay, so even though there are 4 authors, the order of the name must as what appear in the original article. Okay, you cannot switch the order. So if Zakaria appear as the first person, the first author, you must follow suit lah. Okay, as what the in the original article lah, the order of the name. Okay, so Zakaria et al, at, and then al dot, okay, and then bracket the year the article is published. So this is the 3 ways. I mean, one way of citing within the text for 1 person, 2 authors, 3 or more authors. Okay, so this is within the text. Okay, so the second way of citing is when you are citing at the end or outside the text, meaning the text has ended, but you still want to refer that sentence to a particular paper. Okay, for example, you see here, Abdul Ghani 2010. So this sentence here, okay, this sentence here, okay, so this is a different way of writing. So in academic writing, you do not want to have just one way of writing, meaning that you do not want your sentence to start always by a review done or a paper by, a research by, according to. So sometimes you want to mix. Mix means that sometimes it's better that you write the sentence first, and then towards the end, after the sentence has ended, then you put a bracket which you are telling that this sentence or this statement is derived or is taken from this paper. Okay, so that is another way of writing. So if you read this statement, a study conducted using OLS has found that blah blah blah. Okay, so this statement is taken from the context of Abdul Ghani 2010. Okay, so this is if you are citing after the sentence has ended. Okay, if you compare this way, okay, Abdul Ghani, comma, the year. Okay, versus just now this one, by one person, Mutezo, bracket the year, meaning that the name, we only bracket the name, not the whole thing. Okay, carries out by the Mutezo, bracket the year. Same thing, if you are citing two people, only the year is put in bracket. But if you are citing towards the end, meaning after the sentence has ended, like this, okay, before you put the full stop, okay, the last word insignificant, then you put the bracket, the name, comma, the year, close bracket, and then full stop here. So this is for one author, meaning the article is written by one person. How about if the article is written by two persons, meaning by there are two authors, X and Y wrote that article. Okay, just now, if you are citing within the text, meaning inside the text has not yet ended. Okay, you must spell out the word A and D. Okay, A and D as N lah. Okay, Endut and Hua, X and Y. Okay, and then you put bracket the year. But how about if you are citing two authors and the article is written by two persons, but you are citing towards the end of the sentence, meaning after the sentence has ended, so you are citing outside the text. Okay, so how should you do it? So there is, let me go through this example and see if you can find, okay, citing outside. Yeah, okay, this is one example. Okay, so this sentence, as a result, housing prices has been found to play a crucial role in explaining the rise in household debt across country. So you are, when you write this statement, meaning that house price is a factor in household debt, and this statement you will take from the is taken from the paper by Beer and Shoes 2007, and you can see that when you are citing by two people, okay, you must use the symbol, this symbol, not typing the word A and D. Okay, so this is a common mistake. Sometimes students use. Okay, so you must make sure that, okay, the symbol must be used if you are citing towards the end of the sentence. Okay, meaning that the citing is not done inside the text, but after the text has ended. Okay, so by one person just now, we see that the Abdul Ghani just now. Okay, Abdul Ghani, meaning that the name, comma, the year. This is by one person. Okay, but if you are citing two people, inside the text, you must use the symbol A. You must type the word A and D, N. But if you are citing outside or after the text has ended, you must use the symbol N, not A and D. Okay, so this is a difference between citing within the text or citing outside the text. Okay, so this is citing outside the text or after the sentence has ended. Then you are referring, you are telling the reader or the reviewer. Okay, what you are saying is that this statement here, housing prices has been found, blah blah blah. Okay, so this statement is summarized from the work of Beer and Shoes 2007. Okay, so but you are doing this after the end of the sentence. So this is just different way of writing. Okay, to make your writing becomes more versatile. Okay, not one way, very, you just repeat the same style over and over again, and it becomes a bit dull. And sometimes it is more appropriate to cite this way. Okay, so you need to mix lah. So when you read journal articles or thesis, you will find this way. Different ways of citing is done throughout the whole thesis. Okay, so but one thing that you need to be aware is the use of the symbol A and D. The symbol N is only used when you are citing towards after the sentence has ended. If you are citing inside the text, you must spell out the word A and D. Okay, so that is one. So this is for two authors. How about if you are citing et al, meaning for three or more authors? Okay, just now we saw that if you are citing three or more authors, we use the symbol or we use the term et al. al dot followed by the year. This is if you are citing inside the text. Zakaria et al, bracket the year. Okay, how about if you are citing after the text has ended? How do you mention the word et al? Okay, so let's see the one any example from this text here. Okay, okay, so before that, okay, this one. Let me see another example. Okay, before I forget, okay, if you look at this line here, I think, okay, this line, okay, rising house price may increase the household debt since borrower need to take more loans in order to purchase the property. By DeBell 2004 A. Okay, why do you have A here? So if you type DeBell in the search here, okay, so sometimes one or the same author publishes two articles in the same year. Okay, so if you look at here, yeah, here you can see that DeBell 2004B, just now DeBell 2004A. So you have A and B given in the reference, in the citation. Why? Because you can see in the reference, DeBell appeared twice, meaning that the same author, okay, the same author or the same authors, sometimes more than one author publishes the same, they are in the same group, okay, the same people, the same group of people, they publish two or more articles in the same year. So if you put just the year without A and B, so when you cite in the text, you do not know which article are you referring to. So if you put A, B, sometimes even up to C, okay, but usually just, yeah, I mean, the common will be A, B, and C lah. 3 articles per year is already a lot, okay, for one person to publish within the same year, because to publish an article sometimes require 2 or 3 years, okay, for the article to be published. So, but if that is the case, you need to label A and B lah, okay, provided that only the same person or the same people are publishing 2 or more articles within the same year. But if not the same year, let's say this is 2004, this is 2005, even though the same people, then no need to put A and B lah, because as long as the year is not the same, then no need to put A and B. But if the year is the same and the author name is also exactly the same, then you need to put A and B lah, to differentiate which article are you referring the statement from. Okay, so that is if the article is written by by the same people, but is published more than one, meaning that the same person published more than one article in the same year. Okay, so that is how you why sometimes you can see A and B in the citation. So again, this is citing towards the end or after the sentence has finished by one person. Okay, but here you got A lah. The only difference is you put the label A here in the reference. Okay, another one will, and then if you got two authors, you must use the symbol N, not A and D. So, but now we want to find, how about et al? Okay, how do you cite et al if you are citing after the sentence has finished? Okay, so like this, you can see here this example. Okay, Meng et al. 2013. Okay, so this sentence has finished. Okay, you start from, apart from that, a number of new dwelling, blah blah blah, and thereby reduce the level of house debt. So this entire sentence here, okay, is basically referring to the work by Meng et al. 2013. Okay, so what is the difference between citing in the text and citing outside the text, meaning after the text has ended? So the word et al. Is still the same, and then after al you got the dot, but now you need to put the comma lah, of course. So just like citing one person or two person, you can see here, this is if you are citing within the text, Meng et al. Dot bracket the year. But if you are citing towards the end, okay, so you need to put bracket before the name and also after the year, but the comma must be put after the dot. Sometimes students forgot to put this dot here. Okay, so it's very common that sometimes I only see students, they only write, okay, in the thesis, okay, they put Meng et al. okay, et al, and then comma, the year, okay. So they don't put the apa, they don't have the dot, okay, after the al. So make sure that al always comes with the dot after the letter l lah. Okay, so you need to have Meng et al. Dot and then comma followed by the year. Okay, so this is if you are citing 3 authors or more after the text has ended. So we have covered all 3 lah. One author, 2 authors. 2 authors, make sure that you use the symbol N, not AND. AND is when you are citing 2 authors within the text. Okay, outside or after the text has ended, you must use the symbol N. Okay, you must only use the symbol, not the actual AND spell out. Okay, so that is the 3 style. Okay, how about if you have multiple references that you want to cite towards the end of the sentence? Okay, let me go through. So this is, I think, when you go through as many journal or thesis as possible, then you can see that, okay, you can see how citing, how do you want to refer to articles or journals in your writing, the proper way of citing articles for your text, I mean in your thesis. Okay, let me go through this one paragraph just now. Okay, this one. So you can see here, okay, so for this particular sentence, okay, apparently most study found that housing, blah, blah, blah. So this particular statement, so it's not uncommon. So it's quite common that one statement, you can refer one statement by, meaning that statement can be referred to by many authors. Because whatever issue that you want to do, whatever study that you want to do, is very common that there are many people have done or have investigated the same issue as well, meaning that you are not the first one in the world to do it, right? Meaning, especially if the topic is quite common, quite general, so you can expect that there are many authors, many other researchers have done similar issue. So this particular statement here, okay, can be so studied by Justino and the rest here, okay, they have found something similar, which is this is the general conclusion. Okay, but what you can see is that there are different ways. So this Justiano is written in terms of et al, Moroke by 1 person, Tureniti and Jang by 2 people. So, but how do you actually combine them together? So one thing that you need to make sure that after you cite 1 person, okay, to separate one article to another article. So this is one article by Justiano. Second article is by Moroke. So to separate the two, you must use the symbol semicolon here. Okay, semicolon, not comma. Okay, so you cannot use comma instead of, but you need to separate between Justiano and Moroke by semicolon. The same goes to, before you go to Meng, okay, you separate the 2 articles by the semicolon. So if you want to, if some of your text here, okay, if you are writing something and this text belongs to a group of people, okay, meaning that two or more people have written, found something similar, okay. So if you are citing more than one author, more than one journal at the end of your sentence, so you must separate them with the semicolon, not comma. So many people mistakenly use comma, okay, not semicolon. So this is the proper way to cite, okay, articles after the text has ended, okay, towards the end of the sentence, but and it involves more than one article, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there are 9 articles together in this one bracket, okay, open bracket and close bracket here. So this is the open bracket. So this is the close bracket. So to separate one article to another, we separate them by the semicolon. Okay. So and make sure that when you use et al, okay, after al you got the dot. At there is no dot. Okay. Don't put at dot al also dot. Okay. There is also another common thing. So at al dot comma the year Moroke comma, year, and then if you are referring to two authors, use the symbol, use this, you must only use the symbol for and, okay, not typing A and D. Okay, so this is also another common mistake. Sometimes the student confused, okay, when to use A and D, when to use the symbol. So the symbol is only meant after, if you are citing towards after the sentence has finished, okay. But if you are citing within the text, you must spell out A and D, okay, as I showed previously. Okay, so these are the different ways or the correct ways of citing. Why is it important? Because when you write an article, okay, when you do your project, okay, it's not only the content, okay, but also the formatting is very important. That's why, just like when you do in your secondary school, okay, in essay, for example, okay, especially if you write, okay, essay about, if you write, if your teacher asks you to write essay, let's say on berbentuk the format of a speech, it will be different than essay that on a different. There are different type of essays, and different essay got different format. Okay, so the same thing here, and especially if what differentiate academic writing than newspaper writing. So this is, if you read article from newspaper, you won't see this kind of references because that is not the purpose of newspaper article. Newspaper article, they can write and they can just give your own opinion, okay, their own opinion, and maybe you do some interview according to the Prime Minister, according to the Minister, according to Minister X, okay, but whether Mr. X says that or not, we don't really know lah. Okay, but you don't need to have references within the article in a newspaper. Okay, but for academic writing, referencing or citing articles is the part and parcel lah. Okay, is a requirement. Okay, because you cannot give a statement like this, because this is not a general statement. This is a very specific statement about how household debt, hutang isi rumah can be related to the housing prices and whatever. So this statement, you cannot write a statement like this without referring where the statement comes from. And when you are referring to some articles, make sure that you follow the proper way to cite the article in your journal or in your thesis. Okay, do not simply do whatever format that you like. Okay, that is not the way. And if you do so many errors, marks will be deducted lah. Okay, not only for your assignment, okay, but in the real life also, even if you submit to, let's say if you're doing a thesis for your master's thesis, okay, your supervisor or your lecturer can even reject, okay, your submission because there are so many mistakes. And mistake like this sometimes can bring down the quality of your thesis because you are not really paying attention. So a student does not only need to know how to use software, okay, SPSS or whatever software lah to run your regression, but also the skill of writing, okay, is very important as well. Okay, so you need to know how to properly refer an article or cite an article, CITE. Okay, I use the word cite many times. Cite means you are citing, you are referring to an article, okay, or articles in your write-up, in your project. So that's what makes a journal article or academic writing different than newspaper writing. Okay, because we have the obligation to provide evidence where this statement comes from. Okay, so this is, even if you are writing your chapter 1, okay, as part of your thesis, okay, if you want to submit, when you want to submit this coming Sunday, okay, I mentioned as previously, you can start referring to some article. You can start citing 2 or 3 articles in your chapter 1, in your background, but you need to know how to properly cite. If you want to cite within the text, how to do it. Okay, this is within the text. If you are citing after the text has ended, so this is the way for you to cite lah. Okay, so you can refer to thesis number 12, for example, okay, as one of the example that you can use, okay, to actually learn how to properly cite your article or reference within your thesis. Okay, so this is one thing lah, okay, one part that I want to highlight, how to properly cite the articles in your thesis. Okay. Any question so far? Ada soalan? As usual, semua senyap saja.
Doktor.
Tengoklah kau tengah tidur ke, sleeping ke.
Doktor?
Yes.
Saya nak tanya. Sometimes kami buat itu reference ikut itu Microsoft Word punya format, then dia appear dia terus dalam kurungan nama sekali dengan tahun. So yang format ni kami kena buat dengan outside the text lah.
No, yeah, I mean, you can use software like, third-party software like EndNote, Zotero, Microsoft Word also got built in the reference manager. So that is just to actually facilitate, especially if you're writing a very long project like a PhD thesis, 200 pages long, 300 pages long. So it helps you to actually, because if you delete one part from the writing, it will also delete in your reference. So it helps you to track, okay, to keep track. But sometimes using that auto insert format also can be quite frustrating. Meaning that because I've gone through the process before using, I don't use Microsoft Word. I use another program called EndNote. Okay, it's a software that you can use to integrate with Microsoft Word. But sometimes but I think for a small project like your undergraduate thesis, okay, you don't need to use this automatic, because sometimes it can be more frustrating than of assistance, meaning that you need to actually modify and go. But I think you can do this manually, providing that, if you add one reference, make sure that it appears in your reference list, okay, towards the end of the paragraph. Okay, every thesis or every journal, okay, before the end of the thesis, you will have this reference list. Okay, so the reference manager, like the one automatic from Microsoft Word, when you insert one reference, it will appear automatically here in the reference. It can do that for you as well. So that is what we want to make sure that whatever that you, because the common mistakes even by PhD students, sometimes when I read any PhD thesis, okay, let's say they put the word Piloso and Papakni. Okay, so this person name is here, but when I go through the reference list, this article is not present in the reference list. So that is a very common mistake. So maybe one reason is because they don't use this automatic reference manager, meaning that you refer to an article in your text, but this article does not appear in the reference list at the end of the thesis. So that is why people use reference manager. But sometimes even if you use, sometimes, as you mentioned, automatically Microsoft Word will put bracket here, because Microsoft Word does not know whether you are writing in the text or outside or at the end of the text. That is for you to edit on your own. Okay, so because Microsoft Word will automatically insert the reference in bracket, whether within the text or at the end of the text. So because there are two ways of writing, whether you are citing at the end or within the text. Okay, but for me, it's better to do it manually. Okay, because at your level, even you can always cross-check this one by one. Okay, when you go through paragraph by paragraph, when you see Filoso and Papakni, just scroll directly to your, or you can have like a separate file. Okay, your reference as a separate file. So whenever you have one reference added in your text, make sure that you put this reference in your reference list lah. Okay, so if you use Microsoft Word, the format will be always the same, meaning it always starts with bracket and close bracket, regardless whether you write in the text or towards the end, because Microsoft Word does not know your style of writing. So you need to modify, and sometimes when you modify and you open back the file, it goes back to the original format. So this is sometimes a bit frustrating when you use this automatic style lah. Okay, sometimes you spend more time to correct the mistakes done by the auto insert by Microsoft Word than by doing this manually. So I would suggest at your level, because your project is quite small, no need to use the auto insert lah, because sometimes it can be a bit confusing because of the formatting style. Okay, so just do it manually as what I suggested. Even like the symbol A and D, okay, whether you want to use symbol N or you type A and D, Microsoft Word does not know this. Okay, if you are writing in the text, okay, or after the text has ended, okay, Microsoft even you can see this one. The student has made a small error here. Okay, why there is a comma here? Okay, oh sorry, this is by three people, Lee, Chang, and Zhang. Okay, so it's suppose okay, there are also another approach or another uh, okay, some other lecturers maybe from different school, okay, or different because there are different ways or different style of writing. Okay, maybe some of your lecturers might say that if you are referring to three authors, okay, just now I mentioned if three authors you need to use et al, ETAL dot, okay, like this lah, Brown et al. Okay, but you cannot use et al if you are citing the person for the first time. Let's say Brown and others lah, Brown, let's say Brown, siapa ni, Brown, okay, let's see the full name of this author. Okay, Brown, okay, Brown, Durbin, and Evans. Brown, what lagi? Okay, so 2015 is written by Brown, Gosh, and Taylor. So there are three authors beginning by the name of Brown in 2015. Okay, but if you look at this Brown in the text here, okay, Brown, this one, Brown 2015. Okay, some lecturers may tell you that if you are citing an article written by three or more people, meaning you need to use et al. You cannot use et al for the first time, meaning if you are citing the article for the first time, you must mention all the three authors' name. Brown, tadi? Brown, siapalah, John and something. You must spell out Brown, comma, John, comma, and let's say Smith, 2015. Then the second time you are referring to the same author, then you can use et al. Okay, so this is also another style of writing. But for me, I prefer to use et al. Even though this is the first time you are citing the article. These are different like mazhab lah, school of thought. Okay, school of meaning there are different approach of using et al. Okay, some might say that if you are citing for the first time, the three authors must appear in the text. After the second time, you are referring to the same article, then you can use et al. Okay, so you can see here even the student made a mistake. ET ada dot, AL tak ada dot. Okay, it's supposed to be only AL ada dot. Okay, ET tak ada dot pun. So this is the common mistake. Okay, do not simply main hentam saja. Just whatever that you think is correct, you just do whatever format that you want. Okay, so for some people, they might overlook this. Okay, but for me, because your project is such a small project, and you got like 5 people in one group, so everyone is responsible to check the formatting. Okay, so whether you are using et al, and symbol and beginning, or in the text, or after the text has ended, you need to pay attention to the. Okay, let me show you one or two articles lah. So this is a journal that I usually okay, in this particular journal, okay, you can see that okay, okay, in this journal you can find that okay, Fiti et al 2014, right? So Fiti et al was mentioned is mentioned for the first time. Okay, so this is in the introduction part. Okay, so you don't see the name Fiti mentioned before this. So this is the first time the person Fiti et al is mentioned in the text, and yet the author start using et al for the first time. Okay, but there might be some lecturer who say that cannot. If you mention the article for the first time for 3 or more authors, you must mention every person's name. Okay, but for me, in the area that I'm doing, okay, this is another article. Okay, so let's go to the first in the introduction chapter. Okay, this one, Aurori et al. Okay, because the author's name are spelled in blue, so you can see that there is no mention of Arori et al. Before this. So this is the first time the author mentioned Arori et al., but they use the word et al. Directly. Okay, so some lecturers say you cannot use et al. For the first time. You must spell out all the 3 or 4 authors the first time you are citing the article. Okay, Arori, John, comma, Smith, comma, then followed by the year. Then if the article appears the second time, then you can use et al. Okay, but for me, you can stick to the simple rule, even though you appear for the first time, straight using et al. Okay, but make sure that et, al baru dot, followed by dot, then bracket the year, or depending on how you are writing, whether in the text or after the text has ended. Okay, depending on the style of write, on how you choose to cite the paper. Okay, so you can use the auto insert. Okay, but whenever you use the auto insert, Microsoft Word always put in bracket. Okay, even though it is still inside the text. So this is wrong lah. Okay, and some students, they don't notice this, they submit whatever, because they think that Microsoft Word is very clever enough to know what you are thinking. So it only facilitates your job, but does not do everything for you. Okay, so you need to be aware on the proper formatting style that is required for you to do. Okay, but for the et al. Issue, okay, you follow my style, meaning even though the article appear for the first time in your thesis, just use the word, the symbol et al. Okay, no need to spell out all the name of the authors, even though that is the first time you are citing the paper. Okay, so that is the different style of citing article. Okay, beside so in your chapter 2, okay, especially if you are doing a project whereby you have a sample thesis or sample journal. So I'm sure that thesis will have that section on theory. For example, the thesis number 12 here, okay, if you go through the table of content, you can see that 2.2 here is theoretical underpinnings, which is the theoretical background. Okay, you can use theoretical underpinning or you can use theoretical background, it's still the same thing. Okay, but you need to have a theoretical section in the literature review, okay, whereby you need to refer to who mentioned or who created the theory, okay, and then the second part will be the summary of the articles that you are referring to. Okay, the next one will be how much do you need to summarize. If you are, let's say, okay, let's say you are reading this particular article, okay, this particular article from a journal. How much do you need to summarize and put in your literature review? Okay, if you look at this thesis again, thesis number 12 here. Okay, you go to the literature review section, chapter 2. Okay, one thing that I like about the style of this thesis is the length of the discussion lah. Not all the time, but most of the time is quite consistent lah. Okay, so let's see, mana tadi? Okay, so for example, okay, in one paragraph, let's say you have in one page you got 2 paragraphs. 2 paragraph means half a page lah. Okay, so the ideal way is that you cannot devote half a page by summarizing one article only. Okay, meaning that let's say, okay, if you look at this particular factor, housing prices. Okay, housing prices is one of the factor that is contributed to the household debt. Okay, so what the student did is that in one particular paragraph, there are 2 articles, or at least 2 articles being reviewed, okay, to explain about housing price. Okay, here another paragraph. Minta ada sini sekejap. Mana tadi? Okay, so this one, let's say Mian and Sophie. One, so usually I think the good way to do it is for half a page. You need to have at least 2 articles lah, meaning that you don't provide too much summary for one article until it take you half a page to summarize one article. Usually one article, only require around 3 or 4, maximum 5 lines of your paragraph. So if you have like one long paragraph like this, okay, meaning that you can have up to 2 articles per paragraph. Okay, but if you have only one big paragraph for one article, meaning that you are summarizing too much for one article. Okay, meaning that you are taking too much information from the same article. So we do not want that. The purpose of literature review is to take only the important points. Okay, only the important points from that particular article. So if you write too much from that one particular article, meaning that you are just simply copy and paste. Okay, you do not know what is the important issue that you need to highlight. Okay, so the ideal way is one paragraph, half a page of a paragraph should contain around two authors. For example, like this, Maniago et al. Okay, is around 4 lines, and then followed by Zakaria. Okay, another few lines here. Okay, Mokhtar and so even like in this one paragraph, there are up to 3 authors. So the way you want to group your paragraph depending on the issue lah. Meaning that they should share the similar findings or similar issue. Okay, similar approach ke. So you cannot group together one paragraph by different authors when they are discussing not the same thing. So you need to see if you can combine around two authors or 2 articles within the same paragraph, as long as they are sharing or talking about similar issue. Okay, but if they don't talk about similar issue, then you cannot put them in the same paragraph, because that will be confusing or misleading lah. So the same paragraph must be talking about similar aspect or similar issue or similar variables. Okay, for example, like this, Niza and Karim. Okay, so this is only one person, almost 7 lines long. So this is quite long. Okay, but habis dah. Okay, so like consumer prices. Okay, Gillingham, Diane and Con. So there are at least 2 authors that belong to the same paragraph. Okay, this is another paragraph, Dibel and Turinity. So there are two articles occupying one paragraph. So this is what I want to see lah in your literature review. Okay, do not have one big paragraph only referring to one article, meaning that you are taking too much information from that article for you to do the review. Even though you might see some students do that, meaning that is not the best way to do it. Okay, a good literature review is that you only write around 4 or 5 lines. Okay, for that particular article. Okay, if you go and read a journal article, it is much even shorter than that. Sometimes even just 1 line. Okay, 1 or 2 lines to explain on that particular article. Okay, so if you look at, for example, this article, okay, this article don't even have a literature review. Okay, because journal article can be quite, okay, this one, you can see that. Okay, 1 line, Jam 2008, just one line. Okay, and then Jimenez Rodriguez, okay, a bit longer, 3 or 4 lines. And then IB Singhi 2001, around, but you must imagine this is, the paragraph is split into 2 in this page. So in the real paragraph, it is not really that long lah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, so around 4 lines. Okay, Cunado and Perez de Gracia, around 4 to 5 lines. So this is the way actually you want to cite. Go and read journal articles and see in the section of the literature review how much do you need to write for one particular article. So that is your best guide lah to extract information from one article. So do not put too much information. Do not allocate one big paragraph only for one person or one article. That is not the way to do it. Okay, so the right way is, okay, one article around 4 to 5 lines the most. Okay, and then another article, another 4 to 5 lines. Okay, so and usually you put in a one big paragraph 2 or 3 articles that can be grouped together in the same issue. Okay, then it makes sense that you can put them together in one paragraph. Okay, so that is also another thing that you need to be aware. So of course, at your level, I don't expect that you need to summarize so many articles like in a PhD level. Okay, if I require, let's say, around 15 pages, 15 muka surat the most. So if one page, you can put around 3 or 4 authors, 3 or 4 articles, then meaning that 15 pages is around 30, 30 articles that you need to review, which is not that much. Because in one group, you got around 5 students. So one student only study around 7, 8 articles to summarize. But you don't really need to study the whole article. Usually, if you want to know what is the main findings, the best way is to read the abstract of the article. Okay, to go for the abstract first, and then go straight to the conclusion. Okay, go straight to the conclusion part in the last few pages, and then you go and read both parts, the abstract and also the conclusion, and take out the important ones. Okay, because you need to be reminded that, okay, the thesis that you are referring might be old thesis, like 7, 6 years old. Okay, meaning that the article that they refer to also might be a bit older already. So this is 2021. So I expect that you need to find more recent articles, 2019, 2020, or even 2021 kalau ada. But at least 2019, 2018, okay, 2017, not 2001. You can have some old articles, but I would expect more of that will come from the newer articles lah. Okay, if you got like 40 articles that you want to review, from that 40, maybe around at least 30% should come from the more recent articles, meaning that the last 5 years. The last 5 years mean 2016, 2015 and above lah. Okay, so that should be the guideline, how, meaning that you need to go for the more recent one first. Kalau tak ada, then you go for an older one. Okay, so you need to update that. You cannot simply use whatever the thesis that you are referring to as your literature review. Okay, because I will look for newer articles lah, more recent one, 2019, 2020. Okay, as part of your literature review later on. Okay, so you need to do that, not simply copy and paste from the thesis and then just rewriting them. Okay, so part of your project requirement is to update the literature review from the thesis that you are referring to lah. Okay, so that the project becomes more up to date. Okay, so that is what you need to be aware when you are writing your literature review. Okay, for example, like this thesis was written tahun bila? This was submitted back in 2017. So it's been 4 years old already. So the article that the student referred to might be 2015 and below. So if you are referring to this thesis, for example, so most of the articles are at least 7 or 8 years old already. So quite old lah by thesis standard. So we want more of the 2019, 2020. Okay, not all lah, but at least 20-30% of your literature review must come from the more recent one. Okay, so that at least it shows that you have done, you are referring to the current issues, okay, current articles as part of your review. Okay, so I think that is what I want to highlight lah, okay, in terms of the literature review. Okay, so again, you need to start, collecting, finding articles. So next Monday, I will show you how to use Google Scholar. Okay, and also use this reference manager. Okay, so I'm using Zotero. Zotero is a free software, okay, that you can download from the web, okay, which can keep all the articles that you download from Google Scholar, okay, and put them in a nice format. When you want to export them in a nice reference list, you can choose what format, for example, the APA style. Okay, it can do that for you. So, of course, this is not compulsory, but it helps you to actually learn to use reference manager, okay, beside the one automatically done in Microsoft Word. Okay, so you can go to website, type Zotero, Zotero, okay, as part of the, you can download that, okay, and then see in YouTube, okay, how to do it, how to use it, okay, but I can show you very quickly next week. okay, how to use how to use Google Scholar to find articles and then export the reference straight into reference manager like Zotero. Okay, so that will be the plan by next Monday. And in the meantime, okay, get your your chapter 1 ready lah. Okay, before the submission on next coming Sunday. Okay, any other last question before we end our lecture today?
Doctor? Doctor?
Yes.
If we do manner the ETAL, we need to write in italic or no need?
The et al must be in italic, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
No. Et al no need to be in italic. I think it depends on if you go through journal, some journal they have italic, some don't. So for me, if you want to have italic from beginning, then just use italic. But I think for me, no need to use italic lah. Just normal font. Okay. Et al no need to use italic. Because I myself I don't use italic in my own work.
Okay, noted, doctor.
So that will be, for example, if you look at this journal again, okay, et al is not italic, okay, it's just a normal font. Okay, so no need to italic your et al. Okay, any other last question? Okay, so do check your YouTube channel lah, the one that I upload. Okay, for example, the last Monday lecture was uploaded 2 days ago, I think. So you can see the latest video. So for today's lecture, today or late, hopefully by tomorrow, I will be able to upload them in the YouTube. Okay, so thank you. So make sure that you can find the topic that you want to do, and hopefully the sample questionnaire is available for you